Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley, and I am so pleased to be sitting right here in the heart of Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee, with two of my favorite comedians, two of my favorite people sitting immediately to my left.
Narado Moore.
And directly in front of me.
Ben Sawyer.
Yeah, that's right. Dr.
Proprietor
Ben.
of this homestead.
Dr. Ben and Dr. Rod are in the house. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Ben.
Live from Dr. Ben Sawyer's sex dungeon.
That's right, yeah.
Live from the right ventricle of the heart of country music right here in East Nashville.
That's right. Well, so this is Christmas week. So everybody, if Christmas is your thing, I hope you're having a good one. If it's not, enjoy the day off. Happy holidays, all that good stuff. And for this week's episode, we're sitting here with the history professor. Those of you who listen to the show definitely know Dr. Ben. He is, of course, the host of the wonderful Road to Now podcast alongside Bob Crawford. And we got a history thing that I happened upon recently. I've talked about this on the show. I got a hold of a book that I absolutely recommend to everybody. It's one of the most insane things I've ever read. It is called Heaven's Ditch, God, Gold, and Murder on the Erie Canal. And it is all about the Erie Canal. And the book was written by Jack Kelly. I think it came out in like 2015 or so. And it rules because, for those that don't know, upstate New York, he basically makes the argument that until the Erie Canal's construction began, everybody in upstate New York in the early 1800s was basically living the same way it would have been in the 1600s. There's not that much different. And then all of a sudden, the Industrial Revolution just shows up in this place out in the middle of nowhere.
They don't like it.
And
they don't like it.
And the reaction is we get Mormonism, we get Seventh-day Adventism, which would eventually lead to our Waco situation and all that. We also get the anti-Masonic Party, which the more you read about that, the more you're like, ooh, that seems really, really familiar. That's the QAnon of the 1820s, like straight up.
It's like when Arnold shows up in the Terminator.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's like, because it's this all-encompassing conspiracy theory that everyone can associate all of their existing personal problems can be chalked up to like, well, Freemasons are obviously ruining the world. So highly recommend this book, but there is a brief part of this book that really grabbed my attention, and that's what we're going to be speaking about today. But first,
yes,
before we get into our main subject for the day, I just wanted to say a shout out to my friend Nashville Will, who is the driver of the hilarious friends of the show, Keith Carey, Tom Goss, and Nicole Buchanan. When I was back down here in October, he gave me, he's a listener to the show, he gave me a very curious beverage that I was going to bust out for this special holiday edition of the show from the gas station or mini mart, if you will, known as Sheetz, So I looked this up because I was like, why is it called Sheetz? Apparently that's legit their last name. SHEETZ, Sheetz.
That's good. That's a lot better than it being founded by the KKK.
Well, see,
Sheetz with the Z. It's like racism and anti-Catholicism, but
Northern
it's fun.
Northern Alabama's premier sheet provider.
Well, it's spelled with a Z, so it is like a racist gas station mixtape. He's a rapper, but he is also...
It's like a KKK rebrand in the 90s.
Yeah, no. It's like with the KKK. That's what Al-Qaeda's trying to do now. What I love about
Al-Qaeda is rad.
It's what the Taliban's trying to do now. The Taliban cracks me up. They're like, people are like, you guys are horrible. And they're like, look, that was the old Taliban. All right, we're new Taliban. We're not going to do, we're fine. We're different. Don't treat us like that. It's like, but you're still the Taliban.
We're the bannies.
Yeah.
That was the bannies. It's like in Australia and New Zealand, what they call fucking horrible biker gangs go bikies. It's called the bikie gang.
It's just insult to injury.
It's a bikie gang. Like, that doesn't make it any less terrifying.
How did you die? At the hands of the bikies.
Yeah. No, what happened to your father? The bikies came and got him.
Yeah.
Bikie gang came through and fucking burned down the entire building. Like, a what gang? A bikie? It's a bunch of 6-year-olds on tricycles.
Yeah. They've got the honk. Like
that's what the Hell's Angels would be known as.
If you
Down under a bikey gang.
If you see the streamers, you know it's the end.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Sheetz, basically they're based out of Altoona, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, and they are a 24/7 truck stop. We've actually spoken on the show about their main competitor in the Keystone State, Wawa, which is, they've got like food and stuff like that too. And, let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe Sheetz, I don't know if they have the full service food counter the way Wawa does, but bare minimum, they have a ton of signature sodas. And for today's libation, we have Sheetz Pop, and this is pumpkin pie flavored.
Yeah, I should have known. Like when he said curious, he used the word curious to describe this soda. Like that's not a good modifier.
Just makes your stomach cramp up just hearing the name. Pumpkin pie soda.
Wait, we're all going to be on stage here in about 4.5 hours. So can't wait to pie up that stage.
Yeah. So I figure we'll go ahead and hopefully Dr. Ben's mics pick this up as sexily as my mics do. So let's go ahead and get our... All right, we've cracked it. So go ahead and I'll pour myself a little and I'll pass the old bottle around. And this is
I'm so terrified of this because I don't like pumpkin pie.
This is 24 ounces too, so this is like a big bottle. So you can get a full glass if you like.
I'm gonna do like a shot.
That's
just
fair.
to
That's
see.
fair. We'll give Ben. Ben just stepped out of the room, so fill that fucker up. Hell yeah!
There you go. How about a grog? How about a grog of fucking
A grog.
Narado was like, hey, so you guys are all going to be behind stands tonight. I'll be the only one standing out there.
Narado literally poured himself a shot. That is a...
I don't really like pumpkin pie, so I don't want to just down all this soda if it's gross.
I love the way you... to be fair, I didn't say I don't like pumpkin pie, but I love the way you were like, he's gonna get pumpkin pie, whether he likes it or
Ben
not.
loves pumpkin pie.
I actually love pumpkin pie, so I'm pretty excited. Cheers, gentlemen. Let's give this and shout out to our friends in Pennsylvania. It's not bad.
It's very subtle.
Ooh,
It is extremely subtle.
It's got the little aftertaste.
It does.
I like the graham cracker crust sort of bready aftertaste.
I'm
comes in.
impressed.
It tastes the way like a pumpkin pie scented candle smells.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, it's giving me that. Like when I taste it, it's like I'm not tasting the soda. I'm smelling a pumpkin pie candle.
It's like it's like we flipped a house and now we've lit the candles for the buyers to come in.
It's very weird.
It's bizarre. It's bizarrely subtle.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It doesn't.
There's really no taste.
It's funny because the thing I can compare it to is it was my criticism of like when Coca-Cola will come out with shit like Coke with orange, and there's not that much orange, and I'm like, either do it or don't. Don't as Outcast said, don't pull the thing out unless you plan to bang.
I never
go all the way.
tasted anything that activates my smell senses. I really don't taste soda. It just smells like somebody sprayed air freshener in here. It's very strange. So I can't even say this is bad or good. It's like, it really is like drinking water as a pumpkin pie candle burns. It's strange.
But if drinking water while a pumpkin pie candle burns could give you diabetes.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
How much sugar is in this? Like, let's see.
Oh, I'm sure it's unspeakable.
Listen, we're all from the South. We're genetically predisposed to diabetes.
Yeah,
regardless
of being here.
Even if we were vegan, there's just sugar in the air.
So there's so this is a 24 ounce bottle, 360 calories for the whole bottle, and of that there are let's see, where's my sugar? There's 86 grams of sugar.
Dude, there's 15 calories per ounce. That's insane.
Wow. Someone needs to tell Christian Bale if he needs to come back and play Dick Cheney again, he could just drink Sheetz pumpkin pie every day and he'd get there.
You can gain weight from a liquid diet.
That's what he did. I don't know if you know this. When he was playing Dick Cheney, to become Dick Cheney, Christian Bale would put Ben and Jerry's in the microwave and melt it and chug it. And that's how he became fat to be Dick Cheney.
Well, there we go. Solving a problem a lot of us have is how could we be fatter? Thanks. It's good to know there's a strategy for that.
But yeah, that's shout out to Nashville Will. Thank you so much for handing that off to me. That rocks. And I was about to like I'll finish this bottle, but now I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of damn sugar.
I feel
so
it in your
much
stomach
fucking
too.
sugar.
Like it's definitely like it's got the weight of a pumpkin pie once it gets in there.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what this is. Maybe is Christian Bale's soda. It's not a soda flavored like pumpkin pie. It's just carbonated, melted down pumpkin pie.
Yeah, by the end of this, I'm going to be screaming at both of you guys. You're so fucking unprofessional.
We'll have to take naps. Ironically, we'll drink something that's caffeinated with sugar in it. I'll have to take naps right afterwards.
Well, that's the
We're
thing with-
done after this, man.
Yeah.
We're done.
Well, that's the thing with like the energy drinks, and I honestly did not intend this when I started doing that. It was just a stupid bit, but like it really does make the podcast get more hyped. Like, and it's funny because when I go back and listen when I'm editing these, you can hear it. You're like, oh, it's kicking in, and then people get more hyped. With this, I'm like, this might we might have a sugar crash in the middle of this shit.
It's gonna get real sluggish.
Yeah.
I want you to save all your pumpkin pie. I want you to save all your pumpkin pie. I want you to save all your pumpkin pie. Just for me, girl. Please don't give none away. Let it get sweeter by the day. Come on and save it, baby. Please save it. I said save it all for me.
Well, let's talk about the early 1800s. Okay. I've got a story for you that, again, this originally appeared in that Heaven's Ditch thing, and I was like, they didn't give it, they spent a lot more time on William Morgan and the anti-Masons and the Erie Canal itself and all that stuff, which was very interesting. This was just like a little side note. And I was like, hold up, what are you talking about? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And so I started doing some research. I have access to a great website, newspapers.com, that has,
straight into the point.
Hundreds of thousands of newspapers going all the way back to the 1700s. And you can search by name. So you can just type in a thing and see what people had to say about it at the time, 100 years later, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll go through the sources at the end, but suffice to say, I pulled this from a lot of newspaper articles and a lot of websites because this is, to this day, maybe the biggest thing that ever happened in Rochester, New York.
You mean besides the Museum of Gaming, the Broad Museum of Gaming, the Strong Museum of Gaming? Go ahead.
They have a gaming museum in Rochester?
Game show archives. Go ahead.
Fuck.
I just started. Anyway, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Rocks.
But
No, that rocks.
awesome.
They got the original set for Pressure Luck in there.
It's weird, man.
No whammies. Stop.
Whoa.
That's their motto. People keep on trying to give them whammies, and they're like, "What do we say?" So,
as we do, this is going to be the first one we've done of these in a while. Before we even begin, I am going to put this person into the Goods from the Woods Hall of Fame. Ben, you've been here before. We put the sausage guy, Randy Taylor, the Jimmy Dean sausage complaint man, in there when you were here. So this guy, equal importance, I think. So we're going to talk about a man, and that man's name is Sam Patch.
Sam Patch.
So Sam Patch was born sometime in 1799 to a man named Mayo Greenleaf Patch. His father's name was Mayo.
Mayo Greenleaf?
Mayo Patch.
Mayo Patch.
I'm sorry.
Was he the original hippie?
Did you say mayor?
No, Mayo.
Mayo.
Like mayonnaise. I wish his name was Mayonnaise Patch, because that would fucking kill me.
Mayonnaise
What was his
Greenleaf
middle name?
Patch.
Huh?
What was his middle name?
Mayo Greenleaf Patch.
Greenleaf.
Right.
Sounds like a sandwich of sheep.
Are his parents a fucking like two salads?
His mother's
Mayo Greenleaf Patch.
his mother's name, Abigail McIntyre Patch. Mayo was a tenant farmer, a shoemaker, and a raging alcoholic. This is...
He's a shoemaker?
Well, here's the thing I read that was
he's
funny.
Gonna hate it when the Industrial Revolution shows up. Those guys really hate it.
It's so
Cobble
funny.
season is done.
It's so funny you mentioned that because he was bad at it. Like, he's a failed shoemaker. Like, he was a farmer and then he got into shoemaking. And based on some of the stuff I read from the newspapers back in the day, they were like, he was not good. No one bought a second pair of Mayo shoes.
Yeah, he's just making knockoff Jordans. And people were like, we can tell. You're not even trying.
I've got the best.
It says Hair Jordan on it. Like, what are you...
I've got the best knockoff Yeezys on the Erie Canal, I guarantee it. So his dad's a drunk. His mother a stern Calvinist is how she was described. So sounds like a fun pair.
I hate those people died out, man. some of the greatest American stories involve Calvinism, man.
Where have all the Calvinists gone?
Those people were wilding the fuck out.
In 1807, the Patches moved from their homestead just north of Boston to Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Oh, good.
And so,
Talking to somebody from Pawtucket yesterday.
did you really?
Yeah, small world.
Well,
Go ahead.
Pawtucket's
Shout out to Family Guy.
as far as like the Industrial Revolution in America goes, Pawtucket's a big deal because that is the home of Slater Mill, which is considered America's first industrial factory where they make cotton yarn. It was a water-powered textile mill. It's still there today. It's actually the number one on the National Register of Historic Places. Slater Mill is site number 1. And
OG.
yeah, and it was the first water-powered textile mill, and using the power of the nearby Blackstone River, huge machines inside the Slater Mill spun cotton into yarn, which could then be used in mass textile production. The long days inside either freezing or sweltering factory depended on the time of year, combined with the incessant clanging of machines, was said by everyone to be, quote-unquote, maddening. So working inside this thing is sort of like clang, 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 clang. Like
Went the trolley.
yeah,
Amazing,
the
man. It was
worst.
like, oh, the river's swelling. Look at production.
And furthermore, there's no filtration system of any kind because they didn't know about the thing. So heart and lung disease due to massive dust, lint, and particulate inhalation were common. So not only is it just incessantly banging, there's lots of industrial accidents that could be expected with any factory, but also everyone has COPD because they're just breathing in cotton dust.
That's a
all
great
day.
time to own some shit like that, where it's like, where like people are so stupid that you can just tell them, nah, you're good. When they're like, hey, I notice every time I'm in here running this machine, I go blind. And I start coughing up blood. And they're like, you got a cold or something?
The guy goes, well, if you can't see, I guess you can't work here anymore. It's like,
Everybody
all right,
in here passes out for 30 minutes whenever we hit the on button.
They have to-
I was like, that is weird.
They have to
We have noticed we do dock your time while you're passed out.
They have to clean their eyes out like a dryer lint, you know? All right, I'm going to
Is
put two
this
fingers in
unhealthy?
your eyes.
Nah, you're
Get the
good.
lint out.
Oh, okay, cool.
The eye squeegee.
Yeah.
Eli Whitney's second invention no one still knows about.
So,
Strangely enough, powered by the same river.
but the good thing about the Slater Mill, it wasn't just adults. The Slater Mill would also employ entire families into their operation, including
Really?
children. While the older workers were known as mule spinners, and they would man the giant, complicated textile machines, children would be sent inside the nightmarish spider web of threads between the whirling belts and spinning, hulking machines to replace bobbins and repair broken threads.
Older workers meeting the people who were 23.
Yeah. The people who started with the people who started when they were like 6.
People who were 23 are like the old men.
Yeah, well, it's because like, oh, you can't fit in the smashing hole anymore, so I guess you get promoted. I feel bad for like real like short guys because I was like, sorry, we can't
Right.
move you up. We still need you to replace those bobbins.
Bad
So-
time to be a dwarf.
Well, also I love it's like the child seat of the era, right? It's like, the kid who doesn't grow up quite as fast still has to stay in the child seat, because you have to
Right.
be a certain weight. It's like, there's like the 15-year-old still working in the bobbins.
Oh yeah,
The kids are making fun of him, beating him
Yeah.
up after work.
Work in this factory began at 5 a.m. and did not end until 7:30 p.m. 6 days a week. And that is where Sam Patch began working in that capacity at 7 years old.
So this is 1806?
Yeah, at this point they moved to Pawtucket in 1807.
Okay.
So this is 1807. His father, meanwhile, Mayo, would go on to heroically abandon the family before eventually winding up in a prison for counterfeiting, which was also a very big running theme throughout the Heaven's Ditch book. And there are a lot of counterfeiters. One of them's name was Joseph Smith. That was what he
Yeah,
did.
baby.
And then
Whatever happened to him?
he
My
didn't.
favorite.
Nothing
I love
else.
Joseph
Headed west?
Smith so much.
Yeah, he's
I
badass.
love I ran some Mormon missionaries out of my house one time because they came through my neighborhood. This is like 2012. And they came to the door and I was getting ready to go to work, but I was so excited. I was like, listen, guys, I really want to talk to you. I'm going to work. Please, anytime tomorrow. And we settled that, and they came. And I got them in my living room, and I served them some drinks, and we were talking. And when I just started talking about it, because I had a Mormon Bible in my bedroom, like I knew everything about Mormon. And man, when I started asking questions and talking about you, them motherfuckers ran out of that house.
Yeah, this is what again, back to the mystery of Narado Moore, is that Narado knows things. Like, no one expects him to know. It's like, somebody's like, hey, yeah, come in my house. It's like, they're never expecting. You've read that book more times than they have.
I'm telling you, dude. Well, and it is fascinating. Like
Joseph Smith is awesome.
People who listen to the show know fucking grifters. That's my favorite thing to read about because, as I've said, when you read about somebody like that, you come to this fork in the road where it's like, on the one hand, shame on you for exploiting those people. On the other hand, wow, I can't believe people are that dumb to fall for your bullshit.
I always support that. I think that one of my worst qualities is that I use dumb people for entertainment. I can't help myself.
Well, yeah.
And I fully support grifters taking advantage of the dumbest motherfuckers alive. I fully support it, man.
Although I should say, newspapers.com brought to you by the Mormons.
Is that true?
Yes.
They're Ancestry.com?
Ancestry, yes.
Holy shit.
Ancestry was set up because Mormons have to trace their heritage. And they're like, I mean, Mormons, doing research in Russia, Mormons pop up in archives because they're trying to trace heritage back. And so they just kind of put that into a system. And
wow. So we're catching all these serial killers because of Mormons.
Because it's all about legacy.
Well, no, we're catching all these serial killers because there's absolutely no comprehensive
That's true,
privacy laws surrounding DNA. And when you click the things that says for research, it goes to some dude's house in Florida. I'm not bullshitting you.
Which goes back to my support of taking... if you're willing to send your goddamn DNA to just some dude...
No, you guys
deserve whatever happens to you after that.
One guy runs this depository, it's like he's the Supreme Court. Like they go, hey, we need to find this. Like the guy, Patton Oswalt's wife. They've been researching
the
that
Golden
guy.
State Killer.
They found because they came to him and they were like, hey, could we see in your database? Because if they've got your second cousin's DNA,
they've got you. Yeah.
So we're all screwed anyway.
Anyway, so after working 14 and a half hours a day, there was not much time, believe it or not, for the factory kids to have fun. But nevertheless, they found at least two pastimes they really dug. Those would be getting drunk and jumping off of things.
Hell yeah.
The children.
Welcome to Ye Olde Jackass.
Yes. Buddy, you have no fucking clue. That might be the title of this episode because that's exactly where we're headed, buddy. So
that's so broad. That's such a broad statement, but it so accurately describes to a pinpoint. Jumping off of things.
Yeah.
What kind of thing? What the fuck ever is elevated?
Besides, by the time they get to that point in the day, they've already been through with the most dangerous shit they're going to do.
Yeah.
They've inhaled 16 ounces of cotton. What the fuck? What? They're insulated.
Yeah.
They're 7-year-olds. They just drop a fucking ton of bricks. But they're just packed full
They've
of
got 15 pounds of cotton circulating through their system. They're already cushioned.
Man, how do you feel? I don't know. My blood is dry. Does that make sense?
Just trying to die before I have to go back to work tomorrow where I might die.
So the children would get loaded on whiskey and jump off a bridge into the nearby Seekonk River. The drop was nearly 50 feet, and it involved jumping out over a bunch of rocks. Sam Patch was able to easily make the jump, and soon he sought a bigger challenge. He climbed to the top of a 6-story stone mill located on a bluff above the Seekonk River and jumped 100 feet into the water below.
It's like the original Evel Knievel.
Yes, sir. Sam continued making this jump, attracting a bigger and bigger crowd each time and building himself up as a showman. So Sam would milk the anticipation in the moments leading up to the jump, and then afterwards hold himself underwater for as long as he could until, he eventually pop up. So that way people
eventually
thought he died.
The entire river into the...
The American version of swimming across the English Channel. Jumping off a high-rise building and then seeing how long you can stay down there.
They're like, let's count how long he's under, but none of these kids got to go to school, so they didn't know how to count.
The dog, he stayed down there 3 dog poops.
There's just a dog that poops. They're like, look, we can't afford a clock. We couldn't tell time anyway. This dog poops every 10 minutes on the spot.
Just counting by the mounds. Like there's so many. There's more mounds than last time. I don't know numbers,
2.5.
but there's more mounds than Jeff had. He's killing it.
Sam grew from a drunk child into a drunker adult, eventually becoming a mule spinner himself. In 1824, the factory announced plans to increase the workday by 1 hour and cut wages by 25%.
Oh, that's what I love. I love it. I love it back in the day when you just go to work and they show up and be like, profits are down. You all now make 75% of what you made before.
Yeah.
There's no other jobs in town. Go to work.
And we're going to need you here a little longer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you guys go on strike, we'll shoot you.
And
we'll kill every one of you motherfuckers.
and at the time, by the way, so at this point, they have now gone from a manual loom, which involves taking the bobbin and literally sliding it underneath whatever you're weaving, grabbing it with your other hand, running the pins through, and then sliding it again. So in 1824, when this was going on, they had just invented the power loom,
Right.
which automatically slides that bobbin back and forth with an extreme amount of force. So a lot of times they would just come loose and hit people and fucking hit them in the head and like cause serious injuries.
But you saved your good drinking fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what this did was it basically made it so the children were becoming less and less of a necessity to run in and retrieve these bobbins. So now, in order to work these big power looms, they bring in women for the first time. So this is really the first time in American history you have a lot of young women working, and they bring in a lot of them. They're like, "Hey, we're paying you less. Fuck you."
Well,
and you can still make eggs with CTE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that. Let me just say this though, for bringing a little context.
Yeah.
So in Lowell, Massachusetts, where they had one of the first large scale factories, their first workforce was young women.
Yeah.
Because there's like not an unemployed population. You've got to find some latent labor force, and farmers had young women who were just eating, and they were like,
Right.
"We're waiting until you get a dowry for you."
And kids are too stupid to run the machines. So they're like, all right, we need somebody who's around.
And they're also drunk. Listen.
And everyone is.
The kids might not be stupid, but they are drunk.
That's
Trying to get these kids in here. Try getting them up in the morning. They're hung over.
So they announced this, this pay cut and they're going to make them work more hours for less. And they announced this, and this caused Sam and many of his fellow workers to participate in America's first organized labor strike. So they stage a mass walkout, and this whole thing was organized by women at Slater Mill. And on the day, they had the kids that were left at the factory lead them out of the factory, and they basically surround the factory and make a picket line, like a very, proto labor strike, right?
Yeah.
And the strike lasted a month, and workers from all over the region surrounded factories, looted equipment, smashed windows of the factory owners. Everything about this fucking rocks. Fires were set in several factories, and Sam wanted to do his part, so he got drunk and scheduled a leap over the falls to entertain everybody.
Oh, that's it. I knew he was coming in with the entertainment.
Of course,
What are you going to watch back then?
Yeah, there's nothing to do.
Like the TV, no radio.
Everyone has to keep in mind, as I read this story, there is literally nothing to do. This is like, holy shit, this guy's doing it. He's doing it again. We've heard about this. So
You seen that guy that jumps off
he
things?
jumps off things.
He's amazing.
You're not going to believe it, but
crazy.
he's jumping off something today. In this town? Well, it's the only place he's ever jumped off anything.
I'm calling out of work.
It's bizarre. You have very 20th century expectations about your entertainment, and yet
I'm gonna put on my finest duds. This guy's jumping off things.
you were like, look, this boy was born in northern New York, and he's here. He's basically Rick Steves in the 1820s.
Break out the champagne. This dude's jumping off things. It's a night out. We don't get a lot of those.
So,
Call the babysitter. Well, the babysitter is the loom, but it's not working right now. So.
yeah, the babysitter hits the
Factory's
kids.
closed. It's 8:00.
So finally, after a month, they reach a compromise in June, and workers return to the mills. And then at that point, the owners, as you might imagine, began systematically removing any troublemakers from the strike as they could. And apparently, first and foremost on the list was the drunk guy who was really good at making a big scene and jumping off stuff. Sam Patch was fired and forced to leave Pawtucket.
That's a real termination.
Think you're a big deal, do you, huh? Think
Yeah.
you're a big shot, huh?
All right,
Well,
you dummy, get over here. You
You're
like
fired.
jumping off stuff?
You're fired. Get the fuck out of town. You'll never work in this town.
I mean, literally, that's what they said, and it came to
You'll
pass.
never work in Pawtucket again.
So Sam, at that point, he tried to start his own milling business. He was like, man, these bosses are terrible. I want to be the boss. So he does that. And unfortunately, that comes to a quick end because Sam, as you imagine, he was drunk all the time. And he picked for his partner, he picked a Scotsman known only to history as Kennedy, who ran off with all the money. So that's all I could find about that. There was no other
Joseph P?
details.
Yeah. Origins of the Kennedy fortune right there.
That's what I was kind of thought. I was like, Kennedy disappeared into the woods. Uh-oh.
With all the money.
And emerged the president.
Yeah. Normally when there's a Kennedy and someone falling into a river in a story,
All right.
it doesn't end well.
Well,
Patch is lucky to be alive.
yeah.
Maybe he did throw him in the river. He'd been jumping into those things and holding his breath for a long time. He fooled him.
Despondent and very drunk in 1826, Sam did what any despondent drunk would do. He decided to move to New Jersey. So he went to the town of Patterson.
This morning, got yourself a
Gun.
Wait, in Patterson, New Jersey?
Yeah, Papa said you'd be the chosen one. So he goes to Patterson, and there he found work as a loom supervisor at the Hamilton Mill Cotton Works.
The
Which
loon is hopping at this point in history.
Oh yeah, I'm about to talk about Patterson because it's fucking nuts.
It's just like, you want to work at a mill, work at a loon, or do you want to be homeless? There's nothing else. There's no other jobs.
And as it pertains to Patch, Hamilton Mill Cotton Works was powered by the 70-foot tall waterfalls of the Passaic River. So
Greg Louganis is back.
You just described something in terms of elevation in this story.
Something that can be jumped off of. Side hustle season.
So in the 1820s, Patterson is a booming mill town. It's actually America's first pre-planned industrial city ever. Ooh. And textile factory workers toiled away in a Kafkaesque nightmare of running slave-picked southern cotton through massive industrial spinning looms, resulting in grotesqueries like smashed extremities and, as I mentioned, rampant COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, resulting from ceaseless exposure to cotton dust. So it's just bad. It's one of those things where this is like this glorious planned city that is powered by a living nightmare. Oh, yeah. And again, workers, they're always looking for a little bit of respite from this nightmare. And one of their only places to do that, was this. They had their 30-minute lunch break, and many of them took that on the north shore of Patterson's Great Falls in a public picnic area known as Forest Garden. Lots of poor working people hanging around, and they made Forest Garden a terrifying place to the wealthy citizens of Patterson because it's all these workers. They're hanging out and they're spitting and cussing and enjoying 30 minutes of relief from the worst thing you can imagine. And so on August 14th, 1827, Forest Garden was purchased by a local mill owner named Timothy Crane, who planned to transform the public park into a private day retreat for the wealthy that he described, and I'm quoting this from the newspaper, he called it a place of rational amusement.
There we go. No more of this irrational
As
amusement.
opposed to...
No more people just jumping off of things.
Well...
Like animals.
This city has had it with irrational amusement.
Is it amusing? Yes. Is it irrational? Absolutely not.
No, sir.
And we will not stand for this. These deviants with their wild ideas and things that make them smirk.
So he planned the park to be complete with an upscale restaurant called The Cottage on the Cliff and scenic walks and other well-manicured versions of nature. And Crane planned to build a new bridge across the falls, which would restrict access to only those who could pay a 2-penny toll. Oh. So now he's literally like charging people to come into this park.
Wait, so I feel like they're tempting this dude. because there was already a waterfall there, and he hadn't done it yet.
He hadn't done anything yet.
And they're like, "What if we build a bridge across?" They're kind of like looking at him. They're kind of like looking out of the side. Like, what if there was a bridge across it? What would happen then?
What if we kicked his people out and then built even more elevation over this water?
They're like, hey, crazy guy that's drunk all the time, what are you going to do about it? So everyone got mad about the toll, but Crane said that he'd invested everything he had into improving the North Shore, and he defended the toll by saying, quote, if the bridge were to be thrown open, the garden would be occupied by a set of lazy, idle, rascally, drunken vagabonds. This would drive away all decent people. We would lose our income, and all of our little ornaments and improvements in the park would be defaced, ruined, and destroyed.
Ornaments.
with irrational good times.
Irrational exuberance.
I seriously, I think Irrational Amusement is a name for a bar. It's like, where are you going, Irrational Amusement?
But the phrase rational amusement, it says you know what fun is.
Yes.
You know what it is, but we're not doing it. We're not doing it. This isn't, I'm not just lame. I know what would be fun. But let me go ahead and open it up and tell you, we're not having it here.
What is the logic behind the stunt, sir?
Explain yourself.
So Crane announces they're going to build a bridge across the falls that he's going to charge people. It's called the Clinton Bridge, and it was being assembled on the banks of the river. And the idea was they were going to put it on a crane and swing it into place over the falls. And he set a date, Sunday, September 30th, 1827, as part of the grand reopening of the now private Forest Garden.
There's so many stupid ass events. It was so boring back then.
Nothing else to do.
He's released a date. Like
To
a
move a
goddamn
bridge.
album drop for swinging a bridge into place. He sent out save the dates for that motherfucker.
So Sam, as you might imagine, he announced on the same day that he would be upstaging the bridge placement by jumping off the 70-foot high cliff next to the waterfall. So this guy's like, rational amusement, and they're going to place this bridge, and he's like, fuck you.
Rational amusement and irrational amusement all at one time?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Something for everybody.
Give me irrationality or give me death.
This is America. So, in response, Crane told the police to keep an eye on Sam so he couldn't make the jump. The police did so by locking Sam into a basement with a bunch of alcohol and leaving him there. So I love this.
It's one of the nicer.
I know this is
one of the nicer things an enemy can do for you. Like, look, this dude likes his alcohol, and he also likes jumping off of what does it say here? Things. So we'll put a stop to that. You want us to beat him up? No. Should we kill him? No. Just lock him in a basement with his favorite alcohols.
So this guy will jump on. How are we supposed to get him in there? It's like, just lure him in there.
Yeah.
Just go out there and splash whiskey. He'll follow the trail, and when he goes inside, lock it behind him.
A trail of liquor and a bunch of pieces of a ladder. He's like, hey, wait a minute. There's something to drink and something to climb up on things.
Is that a rung?
So, with the threat of Sam Patch seemingly contained in a basement, the ceremony commenced atop the falls as they lifted the large wooden bridge into place. And as they're lifting it, one of the log rollers fell off the bridge and off the falls as it was placed, but otherwise it went off without a hitch.
So basically that guy stole his show. Right. That guy stole Patch's show.
Well,
he plummeted 70 feet.
I thought it was going to be Sam Patch appears on the swinging bridge like Michael Jackson at the 93 Super Bowl on top of the scoreboard.
They're like, my God, that guy's falling off of this. No, he's not falling. He's diving. Oh, my God, it's Sam Patch, ladies and gentlemen.
Patch.
Undercover boss.
Well, so you guys...
The opposite of undercover. Undercover laborer.
So the small crowd of rich people on the banks near the top of the falls politely clapped as Crane stood by. Just then, the quixotic ever-drunk Sam Patch appeared on the cliff.
Yes,
my man busted out.
Show up like Michael Jackson in Pasadena.
You called it.
Prophesied it.
Yeah. So the workers who were gathered at the bottom of the falls exploded into applause. So this is
Man of the people's champ
Yes.
showed up.
Well, so
Undertaker running out. And
yeah, this is a run-in, dude. This is like, oh my god,
There's a glass break.
CM Punk is here. Yeah. I'm gonna jump off a cliff. Give me hell yeah.
You want rational amusement? You better take your ass to church.
Vince McMahon's only interested in rational amusement. I'm gonna drive a Zamboni up your ass.
You want me to do something stupid? Give me a hell yeah.
Did I mention I've been in a jail cell for the past 8 hours?
I mean, that's literally what happened on Monday Night Raw one time. They arrested Stone Cold at the beginning of the show, and then he came back at the end and beat up Vince McMahon. It's drunk.
But it's like locking Pac-Man in a room with a power pellet. It's like when he gets that stuff in him, everything changes.
Yeah.
slippery.
He's Popeye.
Broke the bars.
He's Greg Louganis. He's Evil Knievel, and he's Harry Houdini.
What can this guy do?
It's like
not rational.
Like Popeye's spinach. You can't give that dude some whiskey. He's got a superpower.
So he has a quote, and this was, like I said, it's the greatest thing ever, because you just read this in the newspaper that came out the next week. His quote: Timothy Crane has indeed done great things, but now I will do another.
Wow.
At
Give
which
the man a
point
nod.
he stripped down to his underwear and jumped off a 70-foot tall cliff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So, according to witnesses, in his descent, he jumped with his body bent and his arms slightly above his head before suddenly straightening out like an arrow before he hit the water. So
He jumped up like Wolverine.
yeah, dude. And then and we'll put some of this on our Twitter so people can see it. There are like wood engravings of
wow.
this, and it shows his position. And
Like
he literally
Scrimshaw?
like wood block cuts like they would put in the newspaper.
That's how you had to do it back then. 'cause
I
you
want a
couldn't, like-
Scrimshaw. This dude jumping off.
So, just like in Pawtucket, Sam waited as long as he could to emerge as the crowd burst into another fit of applause as he did. And at that point, Sam swam over to Crane's misplaced log roller, grabbed the rope with his teeth, and then swam it to shore. And the crowd went wild again. He had officially upstaged Crane's big day. And then Sam continued paddling around the water for about 15 minutes doing swimming technique demonstrations. So I just love that he was like, here's my backstroke. Here's my breaststroke. I want some booze.
Well,
you know?
also, I got to say, it was a big discovery. I thought a log roller was a person earlier when you said it.
No, it wasn't a
I remember
person. No, it was literally a log. It was a big piece of wood.
I got you.
Yeah, like the
And he
rollers they
pulled
put the
it
bridge
with
on.
his teeth like a goddamn train seat.
Yes, yeah. And we're talking about the same year as like the rise of Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson and Van Buren plotting the Democratic Party.
Yes,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Going
And-
for what they know. Old Hickory's in the house.
right.
So Exhibition is having a good year at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, and meanwhile, you've got essentially like Hamilton is on top of the falls. You've got the bourgeois people who are like, we want a private park. And then you've just got like the teeming Jacksonian masses at the bottom. Like it's like this perfect little microcosm of the politics of America. Pretty much then and now. So
North versus South.
yep, you've got this, blue collar man brazenly defying the law
In his underwear.
in his underwear. Yep.
Jumping off shit like some Wild West outlaw.
Yeah. Well, and he's like upstaging this like hoity-toity party, and people, it's Stone Cold. The working people are like, yeah, fucking, I hate this guy. He's my boss.
It's like when old boy from Rage Against the Machine climbed the speakers at the MTV Awards.
Well, that changed the world now.
Well, what I also love is that, like, it's also like our modern era where it's like, they're like, you see that guy? He was like, fuck the rich people. But
Yeah.
nothing really changed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. This is the origin story of slacktivism. He's like, I'm not gonna take this T-shirt off until we stop bombing people in Libya. It's like nobody gives a fuck. Like, dude, if you don't start treating us right, I'm just gonna be jumping off of shit until you give us a union.
I'll be doing something slightly less dangerous than what I go into every day at work. That will, and miraculously still be alive. It's just me doing it a different way.
So the guy with the bridge, Crane, he would go on to run the Forest Garden for several more years before losing it to debt collectors and dying alone and penniless in a wooden cabin. Today, Forest Garden is part of the Patterson Great Falls National Historic Park. So you can actually go see this. Everything's there, pretty much preserved the way it would have been back in the day.
I'm going.
And I know I've got family in New Jersey, so I'm like,
This dude's a hero.
see it.
He needs
Can we
bigger
start a petition
story.
to rename it the Patch Garden?
they absolutely should. Sam,
It started. I'm not taking the shirt off until it's named
Don't
the
make
Patch.
us start jumping off of shit.
I won't eat gluten again until.
You want me to strip down to my underwear and jump off this cliff?
I seriously encourage people to go, like I said, I'll put these pictures up on our Twitter so people can see them, but like, it's nuts. Like when you see this waterfall, you're like, fuck that. Like I think I've jumped off something that was like 35
It's
feet
in
tall,
New Jersey.
maybe.
It might be the inspiration for Action Park.
I mean, it kind of is.
That's true. It was the first ride.
So Sam would go on to do this jump at Patterson 2 more times. The next year in 1828, because Crane, he was doing a 4th of July party, and so he scheduled it to fuck up his fireworks demonstration, which I love. So he's trying to make this man kill him, basically.
Here I have spent all this money on these rational fireworks, and this man over here is going to jump off the waterfall and do my rivalry. My livery.
So each time he jumped, he collected more and more donations from the crowds of onlookers. So basically, every time he would jump, he would come out and he would have a hat, and he would walk around and go, "Huh? Did you like it? Did you like it?" And they did. At that point, Sam Patch had just become America's first professional daredevil. And so he made enough money during those jumps to where he doesn't have to be a weaver anymore. So he can kind of, go out on the road here. So this is a letter to the editor of the Vermont Intelligencer from 1828.
Made it all the way to Vermont.
Well, this is just the reporter says this. This is talking about him and Patterson. So there were 10,000 persons assembled at Patterson to see Sam Patch leap from Passaic Falls. This is in bad taste, for although there is some tact and management in the feat, it is still unnecessarily sporting with human existence, and all such bravados should be discountenanced. Rational, scientific, and even daring exploits for rational objects may be encouraged, but what is there in a leap over a cataract of 90 feet? Danger and desperation. We remember a sleight of hand man who was exhibiting his feats in a village in this state, much to the astonishment of the audience.
That man's name was Jesus.
At length, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have one feat yet that will astonish you." So saying, he spread a carpet on the floor, and with a pistol, he very coolly blew his brains out.
Oh my God. Closer.
The villagers.
That's the problem. I can only do it once.
The last line of this fucking kills me. So a guy shoots himself. He says, "The villagers were very much tickled, but then exceedingly grieved when they discovered that there was no sleight of hand to it." So this guy, I guess, was trying to do a pistol trick, and he actually shot himself. But the funniest part is at the end where they're like, everyone loved it. They're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Bill, you're the best, Bill. Bill." Oh, something's wrong with Bill.
I gotta say, it was even better when I thought the dude did it on purpose.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Now watch this.
I thought he did it on purpose too. I thought he did it on purpose, and like they took him in like for an autopsy. They took his shirt off and then like they carved into his chest and said, "The aristocrats."
So he's up there in the front, and he's like, "All right, guys, for my closer, you guys at the snack bar, you're gonna want to see this, okay? Everybody, make sure you pay attention. You're never gonna see this again, anyway." So
pick your ponchos up. He's the original Gallagher. You don't want to put a poncho on the front row.
But I just that newspaper is perfect because it just totally reminds me of the shit that they would write about like Beavis and Butthead and Jackass later on, where it's just like, this is just not for people. This is beneath us as a species.
All of this irrational amusement, man.
They keep talking about rationality.
I wish they would have called Footloose irrational amusement. That's the story of the conservative social culture in America. A fight against irrational amusement, man. That's all it is.
all I'm saying is these people keep on going out and risking their lives, jump off things. They're not going to come and die slow, painful deaths in my factory. Mm-hmm. All right?
Okay.
It's not right. Rational is working for wages the rest of your life.
Would you rather die for something?
Yes.
Yeah.
That means something?
No one wants to work anymore. They just want to jump off things.
If you die today, you're not going to find out we're cutting your pay by 60% tomorrow. Don't you want? Every day's a surprise.
So Sam then went on what he called his 1828 summer jumping tour. Patch appeared before a crowd of 500 people in Hoboken, New Jersey, where he jumped from the mast of a ship 90 feet into the Hudson River. So he's amping it up.
Yeah, dude.
He spent the whole summer traveling around New York and New Jersey, jumping off dams, factory walls, cliffs, anything else that seemed insane. And he became a newspaper sensation as the press dubbed him the Yankee Leaper. or Mr. Patch, the Jersey Jumper. So he's got those two names, which neither you could do better. Come on.
Yeah, but back then, just having a nickname was a big deal back then. That wasn't like everybody had a nickname. It's like you had to get one. If there were like enough people like in newspapers that knew who you were, eventually you'd get one, and that was just a big deal.
Yeah. So this is from the October 27th, 1829 edition of the United States Gazette out of Philadelphia. Quote, Mr. Patch is now the paragon. The lion attends the parties of the ladies. Everyone desires to pry into his countenance to see if something extraordinary cannot be discovered.
Pry into his countenance.
They discover nothing, however, but a careless, good-humored fizz, fond of conviviality and good cheer. So I love that they're going up to him and being like, what are you about, man? Like, what are you really about? And he's just like, I don't know. Jump off shit. Like, they're really trying to find meaning in this, and there just isn't any.
Like no one could be that irrational.
Yeah.
There's
they're like,
no way.
He was a Donald Trump back then. He's like the people that are talking to Donald Trump in the third year of his presidency being like, but what is he really thinking?
It's like he's not.
He's not. He wants you to look at him. He wants you to look at him and do the shit he's about to do.
It was also around this time that Sam coined his first catchphrase, saying to a newspaper, quote, I only wish to prove that some things can be done as well as others. And that gets repeated everywhere. Some things can be done as well as others, which is such a drunk guy trying to be profound kind of thing, where I'm just like, what?
That's his. You got any weed?
Yeah.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
It's like if only he'd known of it is what it is, which is equally profound.
Yeah. But yeah, some things can be, if you find his old posters, his jumping posters, they all say some things can be done as well as others. He also acquired a pet fox and a pet bear around this time.
Tempting fate.
So now he's walking around with this. Like, there was a lot of accounts of this. Like, he would just show up in towns with a fox on a leash and a bear on a leash and would just walk around to make a big scene. Like, and that was his thing, was causing a scene.
He's the original guy at the park with the snake around his neck.
Yes. Yeah. He wants you to ask him about the snake. So
follow me to a place of high elevation.
But I like that, man. That is actually kind of profound if you think about it. Like, because everybody's trying to figure out like what his angle is. Like, this dude is obviously up to something. There's obviously some deeper meaning, and his whole thing is some things can be done as well as others. Like, I'm good at this shit.
Yeah.
Just like some people are good at things you might think are skilled, but guess what? This shit might be stupid and seem unskilled, but I bet you can't do it.
Yeah.
Can you get a fox and a bear to befriend one another?
Can you get a fox and a bear on a leash, motherfucker? Then don't ask me no questions.
So Sam publishes a letter in the New York Courier. Quote, please notice in your valuable paper that I propose celebrating the anniversary of our glorious Independence Day by leaping over Little Falls in Essex County, New Jersey, which not being sufficiently deep, I have erected a stage so the clear leap will be 80 feet. So the waterfall wasn't quite high enough, so he's going to get a platform. He's
nice
taking
try,
it up.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Amp this up a little bit.
I perceived by a notice in Alderman Ben's paper that some base person proposes that I should leap with a frog for 100 sovereigns, and I regret to perceive that the exploits of a most daring character take but an indifferent impression upon a gallant people. And then this is where he gets really grandiloquent, which I love. Look at Leander, who swam across I forget the name of the sea, to get a peep at his sweetheart.
You know what he did.
History has not forgotten him. Look at Hannibal, who crossed the mountains in winter. Look at our late worthy president, Mr. Adams, who swam across the Tiber in Rome and the river at Washington City. And look at me, who have jumped over the Passaic Falls several times and have not been killed. Will history forget these exploits? Will not Noah Webster in his next dictionary notice them?
Motherfucker invoked Webster's
He wants
dictionary.
to be, and that was when Webster was alive.
Dictionary defines
A fucking crazy asshole as Sam Patch.
irrationality as
He's literally wanting his picture next to the definition in the dictionary, which Oh, perfect. Every skimble or scamble thing in this country is patronized from an Italian singer, a pair of fat babies, or a dancing corpse, or an Egyptian mummy, or the dog Apollo. They can all make fortunes. And
He's just burning it down. Isn't he? He's going
Tearing down the aristocracy.
John Quincy Adams and
There's
Hannibal.
no monopoly on amusement, motherfuckers. I'm jumping over shit. Come watch it or don't.
Or go to some fat babies or
I love that list. A pair of fat babies, a dancing corpse, an Egyptian mummy, or the dog Apollo. They can all make fortunes and visit Saratoga Springs in the summer, while I, who have done what nobody's ever done, can scarcely make a paltry $50. Someday or another, I shall take such a leap that you will hear no more of me, and thus I'll leave the country to mourn over my loss. Pray come tomorrow and see my jump into the Little Falls, and if you can spare a bottle, throw it in the hamper. I jump best under the influence of old Madeira. Affectionately yours, Sam Patch. Fucking hilarious. Like,
love
he's
that shit.
literally like, if you don't bring me money, at least bring me a bottle of booze.
he's like, man, I could jump, but I'm not going to jump the best I could.
Unless
my old Madeira.
I love that dude. He
He's-
just teared everything down.
Yeah.
And just like, why not me?
Why not me?
Why not me? Homer's writing about mythical creatures and shit, and 5,000 years later, like, that dude's a genius. Mermaids ain't real, and sirens and shit, but I'm jumping off of real bridges into
cliffs.
real water, entertaining real people, but I'm some sort of jackass.
Ding, ding, ding.
Now, fuck that.
The original Jackass.
Ye old jackass.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah. After his summer tour, Patch moved to upstate New York, and there he spent all day drinking in Buffalo bars and at night.
Buffalo.
and I
It's
love
not going
this.
to go well.
It
Well,
can't.
Nothing
So-
ever ends well in Buffalo.
Well, but here's the great thing. So he's drinking during the day. At night, he would be on display at a dime museum. So these are the days
Like
where
Ripley's Believe
yes,
It or
literally, like the origin of
He would be
Ripley's
on
Believe It or Not
display.
is what they would call dime museums. It's where P.T. Barnum would eventually make his money, where they would
This
literally
dude
just
jumps off
have
of
they'd have curiosities, and so sometimes they were like, you know, to have like a two-headed duck, and they'd have it stuffed. Like, oh, what a curiosity! Other times they'd have real people just sitting there telling about their crazy lives.
Some dude standing on top of a shiver room.
yeah, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it.
Paid a dime for this shit.
He's like, what do you do? He just fucking tumbles off of a 10-foot shiver rope. And they're like, oh my God, this is insane.
No, you think this is good? Give me some wine.
So while he was on display, which is such a funny thing to say about a living person.
I jump off things.
While he was on display, museum admission was reduced to a nickel because Patch would be too drunk to say anything worthwhile.
That's worth an extra 5 cents.
I know, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Why
I'm
not
like,
jack it up?
yeah, it's like, I don't
See
care if
the
he's
craziest and drunkest man
They
alive.
lose the quantity, but I suspect there's a very a demographic that's clearly defined that'd pay a quarter to see that.
Yeah.
I would think back in those days you could just put like, yeah, we've got a 2-headed duck. Also, some dude who's extremely drunk.
He's been different places. You want
He
to find
likes
out?
irrational amusement. Oh my God. Name your price.
Niagara Falls
Yes.
sits
go.
on the border of the United States and
Yes.
Canada and is divided into two sides. Horseshoe Falls on the Canada side and the much less sexy American Falls on the American side. In between the two is Goat Island. And in the fall of 1829, Sam was invited to Niagara Falls by a local hotel owner who had planned a grand spectacle in order to draw people and promote the burgeoning tourism industry at the falls.
John Hilton.
Is it called Goat Island?
Goat Island,
Like
yeah.
greatest of all time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, indeed.
Him.
Yeah.
The greatest jumper off things.
So
Him and Super Dave Osborne.
So the spectacle was set to take place on October 7th, 1829, and I got a hold of the program for the day. So the program for that day was as follows. Number one, there was an area called Table Rock, which was going to be blasted to pieces with gunpowder to make way for a viewing platform. Quote, this is from the Huntsville, Alabama Democrat, quote, a greater concussion is not known in the power of human means to create than the proposed blast at Table Rock. This is a patriotic act. 1829, blowing shit up. They're already calling that patriotic.
Not only calling it patriotic, but just construction is like news Dude, you won't believe how much dynamite these guys are going to use.
Like, this is the shit
These people are so hurting for it. Like, no wonder this dude became Beyonce for jumping off of shit.
Blowing up a rocket on the U.S. border in New York makes it into the
Dude,
Alabama.
it's like 2,000 miles away. And they're like, dude, I'm talking biggest fucking explosion you've ever seen, dude.
You gotta see this shit.
Hadn't even happened yet. We're just talking about it.
Front page.
This is gonna
Like,
be
listen, if you got
crazy.
the money, you better get to New York in 8 months.
Yeah.
They about to, man, I'm talking about they about to set off the TNT like you ain't ever seen before.
They got a correspondent up there to send dispatches back every day. Oh my
Like,
God.
this is what I talk when I talk about on the show, that the benefit of reading history is that you can sort of ease your mind that, like, we've always been the craziest fucking country ever, because I read that and I was like, you know, you're reading it, you're like, wow, you know, they're using all these big words like, oh, it's inconceivable to the minds of man. And then they literally end it by saying, this is a patriotic act. Like, we're blowing some shit up, man. It's patriotic. Like, we've always been this people.
That's it. Like, this is like, that's such a great thing to hear right now. And like, because you often think about like the comforts of today.
Yeah.
And how much entertainment you have. And you think about how, like, how could people live back then? But to just hear that a newspaper 12 fucking states away not only was just reporting the news that they're gonna blow up some rocks and build some shit, but they were like excited, like, dude, like, imagine the business explosion you could and then triple it. I mean, they're about to blow this shit up.
Most people
Man,
never
you don't understand.
And it's not like you can go there. It's not like they're like, get up here and see this.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like, We'll with words describe what happens when it happens. So you better stay tuned to the Huntsville Democrat.
Yeah.
People are sending letters.
Yeah.
It's like the Diary of Samuel Pepys. It's just like, dude, I was there. I was there when I heard that shit from 8 villages away, man. Huge explosion.
And we're laughing at this guy because he's like history. Who's going to remember me, man? I'm going to go down in history. It's like, this dude's been mentioned in 3 newspapers. That's basically like having your own TV show.
Yeah.
These days.
By the way,
jumping off of some shit.
I pulled a lot of the stuff from like the northern newspapers just because the language was a little funnier. The Huntsville Democrat, they were cited a lot where they talked about this dude incessantly. So that's event number 1, is the explosion. The second event, a decommissioned schooner called the Superior would be sent over the falls, and everyone would watch it be crushed to pieces in the whirling cataract below. Though the boat wouldn't have any human crew aboard, it would not be empty. The schooner would be filled with geese and other wild animals, along with an effigy of the recently elected president, Andrew Jackson.
Wow.
So
Solitaire.
Buffalo wasn't having it. They were like, yo, fuck this dude.
Solitaire would have been like the fucking internet to those people.
If you could afford playing cards.
But also, you're just like,
introduce Solitaire to those people. Blown
Every
their
newspaper
minds.
goes bankrupt.
Like a time traveler showed up.
I
They're
could
gonna throw this old ship over the falls after they blow it up with the biggest explosion ever. Like, dude, I've died and gone to heaven.
You go back in time and just drop one of those Radio Shack games from the 80s, like Snake on them. They fucking all kill each other trying to get it.
I couldn't find any other information. It just said geese and other wild animals, and I'm like, okay, the geese could fly off the boat before it hits.
Not what we do to them first.
What? Yeah, that's what I was like. Why? What the fuck?
They're taping
Why?
them down.
You think
They're taping them down.
all these geese think they're better than us because they can fly. Well, we'll see about this.
You're going down
We'll fix that shit.
with a straw Andrew Jackson.
Also, for the first time ever, a bird is going to fall off of something and die.
And die. No
this
one's
shit
ever
is like
seen it.
Ozfest. It's like fucking Coachella for these people.
Yeah.
They're gonna throw a bird off some high shit, and it's not gonna be able to fly away. I don't even understand
I
how
don't
you
believe
can
it
do
can be.
that.
I've got to see this.
And number 3, Sam Patch would jump off of a 120-foot tall platform that extended out over Niagara Falls from Goat Island. So that's the program for the day.
So birds are falling and dying. And
Yeah.
This guy's like, I'll show them.
Yeah, exactly. So this is from historian Ruth Rosenberg Nappersteck, writing in the Rochester History Magazine. Quote, Within an hour of the scheduled jump, a chain securing the ladder to the cliff wall snapped, breaking 15 feet off of the top of the ladder, and the steady morning rain had already diminished to the expected crowds, and it was slowing work on the ladder. Patch was visibly distressed. He was anxious to jump this greatest of all challenges and to build his reputation that he felt was now at stake. And so after a 4-hour delay to fix the ladder, Sam began to climb. The Colonial Advocate newspaper published a week after the event described the scene, quote, "Patch walked out, clad in all white."
Oh my God.
Perfect.
Like an angel.
Just like a fucking angel. With great deliberation, he put his hands to his side and jumped from the platform. While the boats below were on the lookout for him, he had, in 1 minute, reached the shore unnoticed and unhurt, and then was heard singing merrily on the beach. So he goes in, the boats are looking for him, and he just pops up like, "Ah, Duncan, I will take
They
a
can't
ship."
see him, but his voice is echoing through. Like they're just like he's transcended. He's gone into the ether.
He's ascending to heaven.
Yeah.
Exactly. Prophet Elijah.
Yeah.
Patch.
He then walked through the crowd with a bag to collect money. 5 days later, Sam inserted another ad into the Buffalo newspaper apologizing for a puny jump of only 85 feet and promising to jump again from a higher height of now 130 feet.
So, okay.
This dude is just, he's determined to fly too close to the
Right.
goddamn sun on wax wings.
So the ladder breaks, and he's like, "Oh, well, I promised you that I would
Only
do some
85
crazy
feet.
shit." Yeah.
That's it.
Meanwhile, no one else in America is jumping off of things any higher than fucking 2 feet.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm sorry, it was just some bullshit ass 85 feet."
Yeah.
Man.
Well, no, this is that Twitter meme of nobody, colon, and then Sam
Yeah.
Patch.
Like,
Everything.
These people are completely fascinated that he's jumping off something that's more than the back of a goddamn horse.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, "I'm so sorry to disappoint you at 85 feet. They're like, "Dude, my brain melted." When you came off that thing, he's like, "Well, next time it'll be instead of 120, I'm doing 130, baby."
So he staged the jump for October 17th. This time he stood on the platform for 10 minutes, basking in the cheers of the crowd. He hugged and kissed a nearby American flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Let's bring that back. It sounds very GOP. At the next Republican convention, I want a daredevil.
Anyone jumps off anything before hugging and kissing a flag. I hate this country. Look, if a
Daredevil
rocket
to
explosion could be
kiss
the
a
most
flag.
patriotic thing in history.
And do a triple backflip down into a pool 200 feet below.
So he hugged and kissed an American flag, and then he jumped 130 feet in front of 10,000 people. When onlookers pulled him from the water, he was heard to shout a new catchphrase, quote, "There's no mistake in Sam Patch." So now he's got two catchphrases.
God don't make no junk.
His catchphrase is going to be my legs. I can't feel my legs.
So then, once again, the United States Gazette out of Philly, the crowd said, this is what the newspaper said. The crowd said in one voice after he said there's no mistake in Sam Patch, apparently in unison go, "This is the real Sam Patch."
I'm tired of all them fakers out there.
Again, this is now wrestling. This is 100% give me a hell yeah. It's fucking wrestling. So Sam Patch has now immortalized himself. His name became a household word, and his slogan, "Some things can be done as well as others," became a popular slang expression
Amen.
across the nation.
Yeah, you can follow him on Twitter at the real Sam Patch.
There's no mistake in at Sam Patch. So this is another quote. This is the Buffalo Republican. So we've heard from the Huntsville Democrat. Now let's hear from the Buffalo Republican. Quote, "The jump by Patch is the greatest feat of any kind ever effected by man." And then the next line is amazing. "He may now challenge the universe for a competitor."
That's what I'm talking about.
That's Kanye. He's Kanye now. He's the fucking greatest of all time.
Fuck you, Ramses II.
Yeah.
Dude, what I love is this guy's like, "I'm the greatest ever," and people are like, "You're a hooligan. You're no good, Patch." And then finally he does this, and everyone's like, "He's the greatest
This
human
dude
who's
is
ever
God.
lived."
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is God.
Well, like I said, that's the Buffalo.
Nebuchadnezzar.
That's,
The invention of the wheel, fire, Pythagoras.
yeah, this was literally front page news everywhere. I picked a random newspaper from this day in 1829. So I literally just went to 1829 and clicked front page again, Huntsville Democrat. It's everywhere. This thing was crazy. So now Sam decides that he kind of sets his sight abroad. He feels like he's kind of conquered America.
Oh my God,
and so he announced to friends, apparently this was said later, so there's a chance that this might be a later embellishment, but supposedly he told his friends that his next plan was to go to London and jump off London Bridge every day for a week. That was his next thing.
He's got to do it so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Not gonna be enough.
Yeah.
This is classic American grifter theory.
Yeah.
The dude's just jumping off shit. It takes zero skill. It takes no kind of planning, no kind of intelligence, no work. And the people think he is Jesus reincarnated. So he just keeps doing that. I'm going to London. And I'm going to up my game. What are you going to do? I'm going to jump off this bridge.
Every day.
Every day for a week. And they're like, oh my God. This man, what can he do?
Every day.
Every day. And imagine, like, this is
People of London.
this is 1829. Like,
It's literally 60 seconds of work.
But look, back then you didn't get to see something twice.
You
Yeah.
didn't get to
You know,
see
there's no
people
reruns?
jumping off of things one time, apparently.
Well, this is my thing. Like, this is 1829. There are still people living who remember the American Revolution. There's definitely people living who remember
There's
the War of 1812.
veterans.
Yeah.
There's veterans from the American Revolution.
But also there's English veterans. So imagine being a guy who fought, in the Battle of Yorktown. You go back to London and then, like, what is it, 40 years later, this guy from America
Some
comes back.
goddamn traitor comes over
Yeah, it's like the
and
best way to rub it in their
wows
face.
the king by jumping off of a bridge.
He's just rubbing it in. He's like, I could have been part of this country.
Yeah,
I could have been one
you
of
could have had
yours.
me. You could have had me.
This could have been all yours,
Yeah.
buddy.
Could have had Patch Baby.
But you guys don't know how to shoot. Could have been all yours, but you couldn't beat a couple of fucking farmers
Oh yeah.
at your own damn game. Now, could you, Georgie?
You guys couldn't sign that treaty with France, could you? Now I'm
This
here.
guy's the Harlem Globetrotters.
So
He's doing nothing, but somehow doing more than any man in existence has ever done.
And I'm more impressed with him than just about anyone who ever lived back then.
right?
I'm more impressed by him than anybody who's living today. Name somebody today who's as big as he was then, who's doing less or equal to the little bit he was doing.
It's got to be like a YouTuber. Is the YouTube thing is it's a clout chaser.
They have to do a million things.
they have to
All
know how
this
to-
dude is doing is
One thing.
climbing up a ladder
Writing letters to papers too.
and then jumping back down, and he's on a world fucking tour.
He has
Yeah.
to taunt people too. He has to taunt
Yeah.
people.
He's doing nothing else.
YouTubers have to go to the
climbs and then he jumps. And people are like, this dude is kill. Who's the greatest violinist right now? Fuck that dude. This dude is jumping off of things.
So
Amazing.
so he said to friends that was the plan, but he decided that before he went abroad, Sam was going to go to America's most exciting city, Rochester, New York. So Rochester is home to the 94-foot tall high falls of the Genesee River, which, believe it or not, Sam decided he was going to jump off those waterfalls.
Uh-oh.
I know you didn't think that's what he was going to do, but he did. The date was set, Friday, November 6th, 1829. And as the date approached, Sam, as he did, went out drinking in local bars every night to drum up interest and to get plowed. And more than once, he was apparently found asleep on the street. So he's got his own, way of promo, but I love it. It's the same every time. It's like, what is your mission? Make yourself a local curiosity, to drum up.
His story gets even better by comparison. The dude is getting fucked up on Tuesday and then waking up Wednesday and jumping off of things.
Like
Like
evil,
every
this is
jail
Evil
cell-
Knievel too.
And he is bigger than the Beatles.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
arresting officer is just a new person to talk to one-on-one about this.
Yeah.
Like, perhaps
You
you've
get
heard
the
of
whole
me.
police force out for the next one.
You can put me
Is
in
that
jail.
Sam patching that gutter? Oh my God, take my picture with it.
Hold still for 45 minutes. No worries, he's asleep. It'll work.
That's his training.
You get me in the daguerreotype.
His training is getting fucked up.
It is. Fucked up enough to be like, it hurts enough to be alive right now that I'm willing to maybe die.
He's just getting fucked up and jumping off things. And this dude is like bigger than Michael Jackson could have ever imagined.
It gives me hope.
This is the greatest story never told.
So on the day of the jump, 10,000 people showed up. Apparently, you just did anything and like, 10,000 people are there. So this is from the Vermont and Republican American from 1829. Quote, "First, a spurious Sam Patch appeared, and he was greeted by the company of 3 cheers, and he bowed to the people, examined the abyss, prepared to jump, and then coolly turned his heel and walked off." So he sent a fake Sam Patch up there to chicken out so that this is the fake Undertaker.
This dude is a genius.
This is wrestling, dude.
This is the fake Sting.
It's the fake Sting. It's NWO
This
Sting.
dude is a goddamn genius.
He sets up a fake Sam who then chickens out, and then the real Sam appeared and, quote, "there was no mistake." So he worked the damn catchphrase into the gimmick. Fucking incredible.
Once again, Michael Jackson, Super Bowl 93, appearing on scoreboards around the stadium, and then the real one pops out of the center of the stage and just stands there for 10 minutes while people scream his name.
This is the real Slim Shady.
This dude is so damn... I'm so jealous right now, man. I'm so... We're not even close.
We've been trying to use words to make people laugh.
We've been exposing so much talent amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. All 3 of us have our own podcast.
Yep.
All 3 of us are stand-up comedians. We write, we perform, we do sketches, we create things.
Yeah.
We do so much shit. But have you ever just thought in your pursuit of making it, have you ever thought to just jump off of things?
So this is a quote from a newspaper printer who witnessed the jump. Quote, "Sam Patch, with a gay handkerchief twisted around his head and in shirt and trouser, bowed to all the spectators and leapt clear of the rock, spread his arm, holding his feet together and bending backward. He fell rapidly into the water, which he struck feet foremost, having suddenly thrown his arms down close to his body just before impact. He reappeared on the surface of the river below, and he gaily pushed away the boat that was ready to take him." So now it's James Brown dying on stage, and then Bobby Bird coming out there with the blanket to bury him, and he waves it off. No, I'm still alive. I'm still the Godfather of Soul. Like, it's fucking amazing. This is here's a quote from Nashville. So this is from old newspapers have the best names. The National Banner and Nashville Whig. So quote, "After a freak or two, he swam to shore and was received with exultation by the crowd below the falls, where he was met by his wardrobe, a plain sailor's jacket, trousers, and the great essential bottle of St. Croix," which I looked up. I believe that's rum. So he goes and gets his things. And
it's named after an island. It's got to be rum in those days.
Yep. So this is the same newspaper. Quote, "Afterwards, he threw a bear, which he bought in Buffalo, over the falls." You didn't think the bear was coming back, did you? I don't know what happened to the fox.
I didn't know it was coming back just to be murdered. I definitely didn't think that. I didn't think he was going to bring him back to toss his ass over the side of a waterfall. Jesus Christ.
The
grand opening, grand closing. Fucking, guess what? The bear's back, and he's gone again.
Dude, that's how you showed you were rich, man. You got a bear. So you got a bear. You fuck this bear. It's like, oh my, it's like smash the guitar.
Yeah.
It's just threw the bear over the falls.
Dude, I didn't even finish the quote. The quote is amazing. So he throws the bear over the falls. Quote, "The poor animal whirled through the air and reached the water. He sank, but soon swam ashore and was caught for further torture." Which they didn't say it, but it's like, I think he just threw it off again. Like, it says further torture.
He keeps throwing it off the fucking cliff. Jesus.
He's like trying to prove that he's stronger than a bear.
Yeah.
he's just like, let's see
eats
how
it over the falls.
Holy, I love like that you think it's over and this motherfucker just shows back up there and just tosses a bear.
Encore. How about this? And he just throws a goddamn bear over the sub. And if it was a cub, they'd have said cub.
He said it's a bear.
He's throwing full size.
This is a black bear, I think.
Bears.
Yeah.
That means he got this bear to trust him. The bear was like, this guy's got my best interest at heart.
And you know what? I hate this because I looked so many places. The name of the bear is lost to history. I wish I knew what the bear's name was, but apparently
the bear wishes he hadn't been there.
He hadn't been thrown off the falls.
Yeah, just leave me out of it.
So
I'm not trying to have my family brought into this situation.
So, despite the huge crowds on November 6th, Patch felt that there was not enough money raised, and he decided to stage a second jump on the following Friday the 13th of November.
Oh, God.
Posters advertising.
This guy's been shaking his dick at God for years now. He's just pulled his balls out.
So, and you can see this online. And
Oh, my God. That is an amazing phrase. I would like that entered into the American lexicon. This guy had been shaking his dick at God for a long time. Then he pulled his balls out.
The bear was too much for God. It's like, man, he did nothing to deserve that, dude. I'm sorry. So, posters advertising, and this is literally what it says on the posters. It says, "Higher yet, Sam's last jump," which is a reference, I think, to him going to Europe. Like, this is his last American jump, but it says, "Higher yet, Sam's last jump." These posters were hung on buildings, in taverns, fences, and packet boats. The poster featured a huge eagle holding an American flag shield.
Yeah.
We've never been different. We have never been different. It's 1829, and his advertisement is the most patriotic shit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so plans were made to build a platform 25 feet over the rock ledge, which now raises the height of the jump to 125 feet. So on the day of, unsurprisingly, Sam drank all morning, and then he made his way to the falls. He downed one more glass of brandy.
One more.
And he began to climb the ladder.
One for the road.
Very, very shakily. And once he reached the platform, Sam shouted down to the crowd of now 20,000 people. This is his quote. "Napoleon was a great man and a great general. He conquered armies and he conquered nations, but he couldn't jump Genesee Falls. Wellington was a great man and a great soldier. He conquered armies and he conquered Napoleon, but he couldn't jump Genesee Falls. That was left for me to do, and I can do it, and I will."
Some things can be done as well as others.
Exactly.
Dude, this shit is profound.
So
This dude conquered armies, man.
I love it.
He could not do this, though.
King Kong ain't got shit on me.
But could he jump off of things?
Genesee Falls.
Sam leapt from the platform in his usual way. Knees slightly bent, arms slightly raised. Everyone was just waiting for Sam to once again straighten out like an arrow and make his signature splashdown landing. Instead, spectators watched Sam's head kind of fall backwards, his legs spread out, and his body turned completely sideways as he smacked the water at 61 miles per hour.
Man did a Christ air.
He did a Christ air.
This is terrible.
And sank like a rock. According to one newspaper, the crowd waited for the Yankee jumper to surface.
Really?
A prominent local citizen apparently bit off the end of his thumb waiting for him to come out. An old lady called out, "If there's anything in dreams, that man is dead." And she was right. Sam Patch was indeed dead as fuck. This is from the Rochester Herald. Quote, "The exhibition had a marked depressing effect on the crowd." It's like, yeah, I bet.
I believed anything was possible.
In less than 5 minutes, almost everyone had fled from the locality, silent, somber, and melancholy. So again, fucking American attention span, hilarious. 5 minutes, they were like, oh, okay. and then they just left.
Like sad. Let's go get drunk and get ready for work tomorrow.
Yeah. So this is Ruth. This is historian Ruth Rosenberg, Nappersteck again from the Rochester History Magazine. Quote, all day and into the evening, boats slowly moved across the water seeking any sign of Patch. Their lighted torches cast an eerie light over the water, but Patch was nowhere to be seen. No one knows for certain what became of the bear. I love that it's like that's in there.
They eloped.
In case you were wondering.
They ran off. They rode off into the sunset together.
Travelers reported seeing the bear at various taverns.
Oh my God.
At tavern?
The bear's like, with Patch dead, I'm the motherfucking number one.
He's the new Sam Patch. He's getting fucked up and just about to start jumping off of things.
So, you all are about to find out about a thing I didn't know about until I read this. So this is the last line of that quote. One account claimed that John Sears, the barber, made bear grease hair cream from him. So apparently a barber was like, well, you won't be needing that bear no more for the jumping, so I'm gonna make some bear hair grease.
Like when a pimp just sees the hooker out, he just like strolls up to her and is like, who you with? Nobody. Oh well. How you doing? I'm Sweet Todd.
Hey, don't I recognize you?
Man, what you doing out here hanging out in a place like this all alone?
Didn't I see you in Buffalo?
I see you with Sam Patch. I heard he was dead.
It's a shame, really.
You a free agent. Huh?
Let's make both of us a lot of money.
You want to see my shed?
No. Look, I realize you've been hurt before.
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw you off anything.
I ain't never climbed up to the top of no waterfall. You ain't got to worry about me throwing you off of nothing.
Taking you last fall, baby.
So in the months that followed, the Sam Patch truther movement got going in earnest. Some people suspected that he'd hidden behind a waterfall until everyone left and that he'd escape. There were letters from fake Sam Patches printed in newspapers everywhere.
How did they know they were fake Sam Patch?
I know.
People claiming to be Sam Patch popped up all over New York. Someone in Rochester was so sure that Sam was alive, he placed a $100 bet that Sam would reappear to tell his tale at Ackerley's Eagle Bar in Rochester on January 1st, 1830. JFK's coming back, guys. Let's go to the grassy knoll.
They must have just opened that bar in November, and it was already taken. They said, we got to fucking... Dude, like in 3 months, and we're dead in the war. We got to do something.
No, wait. I gotta say this. All right. So when you described him falling, I was like, well, it sounds like he must have had a heart attack or something, because it doesn't sound like he was in control of himself. But honestly, it makes sense to me now, because the way that you described it from the newspaper, it sounds like. And you know when you watch like a low rate show, and like somebody gets falls off of something, and they just throw a dummy.
Well, and he'd already had
and
a
the
fake
head falls back, and the arms flail around.
Well, and the last show he had a fake Sam Patch, so he's set this like Andy Kaufman shit up for himself.
Sunk a dummy down to the bottom of the river.
He threw a bear off. He had a fake Sam. Like there's there's not nothing to it.
He threw a crude dummy made out of bricks.
Yeah.
It sank to the bottom. There was no damn forensic divers back then. That dude's just down there.
Yeah.
They weren't going to look for you. They had to be at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is a Friday.
Yeah.
Sam Patch.
That's the day we all get paid less.
He did like Batman. He pulled the fucking Batman.
So
the Dark Knight Rises. He fucking faked this. He was the hero that Rochester deserved. Not the one they needed. He was the hero they needed, not the one they deserved. So he faked this. He faked like he was being hunted. The DA and slipped off to Italy with all his money.
That's right.
Just like Bruce Wayne. He threw a dummy to the bottom of the river and ran off with his bear to fucking Italy.
So New Year's Day, 1830 came and went. Still no Sam. Still no body.
And that bar subsequently closed.
Yeah.
You did what with all of our money? You did. We had $100.
We saw his head hit the water at 60 miles an hour. He's not. So St. Patrick's Day.
I've got a $96.83 bounty.
St. Patrick's Day, 1830. 7 miles downstream from High Falls near the mouth of the Genesee River in Charlotte, New York, a farmhand named Silas Hudson, great name, was using an axe to break up ice on top of the river for his horses to have a drink, when suddenly the hairless frozen body of Sam Patch popped to the surface. So now it's a fucking horror movie. A guy's like, all right, little horsies.
The original Friday the 13th.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. He'd been in the water so long he had no hair. And he's just like, yeah, like comes popping out of the ice. Sam's signature handkerchief was still tied around his waist. So that's how they ID'd the body, because he was wearing what he was wearing. From the March 19th edition of the Rochester Daily Advertiser and Telegraph, quote, "We learn that none of the bones are broken, and the face is not so greatly injured as to prevent recognition. A cut on the forehead is the only one found on the body. What is more surprising is that in the 7 miles between the falls and the mouth of the river, there are several waterfalls, those at Carthage being 104 feet, at which it might be supposed the corpse would have been dashed to pieces."
That's nothing to him.
No, that's not. Even in death.
Even in death.
Nothing to
104 feet water.
master
waterfall.
of jumping off of things.
Even in death.
It's called muscle memory.
I love that it's just like this disaster. He's just going over these huge rocks and falls, and he's dead as fuck, but just nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
death, his body knows. His body knows how to deal
yeah,
with
he
that.
was used to it. Sam Patch was buried not far from where he was found in the northwest corner of the Charlotte Cemetery,
I'm going to this grave.
where it remains to this day. The original grave was marked by a crude pine board that stated simply, "Sam Patch, such is fame."
We're going to this grave.
We're
This
going.
man deserves.
Yeah.
We're going to this grave, and we're playing this episode of the podcast for my man.
Yeah.
This
we're gonna
man
get drunk.
deserves a 131 foot high
Marker.
marker.
Grave marker.
13 stories.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of those roadside crosses down in front of the churches out right beside. And we're going to clamp to the top of it, and we're going to fucking jump off of it.
Throw a bear off of it. How we're getting the bear up there, I'm not sure.
That's
but
it. That's
Sam
the
Patch
value.
did it.
130-foot tall bear with water coming out of its mouth. And we're going to climb to the top of it, and we're going to jump off.
In 1947, the Sam Patch Project was launched by Charlotte high school students to raise money for a stone marker for Sam. And that marker is still there today. Sam's birthday is incorrect on it. So later that year, after they found Sam's body, Andrew Jackson named a beloved white stallion Sam Patch.
What? Oh, what? I knew this.
Did you know this?
Yes.
I've heard
who
of that horse. I didn't know that.
That's who
Oh
he's
my
named
God.
for.
That's my favorite president.
That was
I
like-
did not know he
That was like
named
one of his favorite horses.
Yeah,
That was
like,
his favorite
yeah.
horse.
Yeah.
He was a national hero. He, you know who loved Sam Patch? Fucking Jackson's
This is
people.
insane.
The
Of
Democrats.
course he did.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And to this day in Rochester, you can take tours of the Genesee River in a boat called Sam Patch.
We're going to
and
fucking Rochester.
We're going to Rochester. I've got, there's definitely people who listen to the show in Rochester. I got to go and eat. They have a thing called a garbage plate, which is apparently just like fries and burgers and just all kinds of shit on a
We're
giant
taking
plate.
that plate.
Get your
and we're
hair cut,
going
get a little
to
bear
that
grease.
grave.
Hit the bear grease in the hair. We're doing the whole
Bear
Rochester
grease in
experience.
your hair, bottle of St. Croix,
Yeah, rum.
picnic on Sam Patch's grave.
Yes, yes.
And we're going to listen to this episode of the podcast, and then we're going to jump off his
Yeah, we're
tombstone.
going to kill
Sit
ourselves.
there and play this entire an hour and a half. He's gonna
This whole thing.
Everyone wrote a poem about Sam Patch. Nathaniel Hawthorne, Herman Melville, later William Carlos Williams, they all wrote poems about Sam.
Heavy hitters.
2 plays about Sam toured the United States for years. The drama Sam Patch or The Daring Yankee had its New York debut in 1837 and starred popular comedic actor of the day, Danforth Marble, which I really included that just because the name is amazing. And later, another guy called... So this was like a comedic play. It was like a comedy. And so Danforth Marble was the first guy to play Sam. The next guy, I found this in a couple of newspapers. His name was Yankee Locke, the distinguished Yankee comedian.
Oh wow, the Jeff Foxworthy of his day.
Yeah. If you jump off a waterfall, you might be a Yankee.
Ye might be a Yankee if
2 Yankees in there.
The show,
Comedian Yankee Fox, the Yankee comedian.
the,
comedian Yankee.
the The play toured the U.S. and England and was wildly popular, so it was followed by the sequels.
Of course, they love Sam Patch over there.
Yeah.
That's when he jumped off the London Bridge for a week.
He never made it.
He never made it there.
Your
So now,
consolation is the story of Sam.
well, and not just that story. So these are the sequels.
They wanted it so bad, they just let the play run.
These were the sequels. Sam Patch at Home, Sam Patch the Jumper, and Sam Patch in France in 1844. So apparently they're like going into fanfic now. Like, what would happen if he went to France?
Sam Pick at Home.
Yeah. I think these are one acts as best I can tell. This is like you go see
Sam Patch's parents left him at home and went off to Buffalo.
Yeah.
What's going to happen now?
He's going to jump off.
Bandits.
He's jumping off the bed. He's jumping off the TV. He's jumping off everything.
Lin-Manuel Miranda made Hamilton instead of this? Are you kidding me?
So many of the newspaper listings for these plays, and this was like in a few of them, they would say things like this, quote, "A policeman will be engaged during the performance to encourage order." So like these shits would just get out of control. Like people, just the play of this man's life.
Amusement, the
a
world
rational
tour.
amusement. Like literally, like we have to have a cop to make sure that nobody fucking, whatever, goes too crazy. Later in the 19th century, his name became synonymous with a cheap brand of notoriety. People who did reckless things to get attention were said to be acting like Sam Patch. And his name became a substitute for swear words, as in, "What in the Sam Patch are you doing?"
I'm saying that from here on out.
Yeah.
I will fight you.
Meanwhile, the
Fight you in defense of his honor. I've done nothing that great.
Meanwhile, the fire and brimstone preachers of New York's burned over district used Sam as a talking point in their sermons in the 1820s, not necessarily condemning Sam. They sort of believed him to be a drunken lout, but instead condemning the crowds that had spurred him on. Of course. So they're like, he's dead because of you.
If you had a friend who jumped off a waterfall,
Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah.
would you? If your friend's parents let you jump off a bridge.
If Tony jumped off a bridge, would you do that too? That's the origin
probably where
story.
that came
The
from.
origin
A
story
young
is
Sam
Sam
Patch
Patch.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Just jumping off the bridge is irrational amusement.
That's fucking exactly where that probably came from.
Tony
It really is.
Tony wanted to go, so we went. If Tony jumped off a bridge,
Would you do it too?
would you do that too?
God damn, you're probably, I mean, yeah.
Oh my God. dude.
For decades after this, trains rolling through Rochester would come to a complete stop on the tracks above the falls so riders could get a look at where Sam Patch made his fatal leap. Also for decades, anytime anyone fell off of something and lived, the headline always read, "Sam Patch outdone."
Oh wow.
So,
It's
like-
hey, nice job, Einstein.
That's
Yeah.
solid disrespect.
There was actually one Sam Patch outdone that I found that was about a cow that fell off a cliff and lived. So it was like, Sam Patch made a look a fool by a cow.
Oh come on, that bear.
Yeah.
More like it.
So Patch obviously had, many imitators afterwards throughout history. Tommy Burns, a diver from Liverpool, England, died in 1897 when he got drunk before diving off Reel Pier in Wales.
Amateur hour.
And there actually is...
You went to Wales? That's it? You've been thrown out of the major circuit? You
Once
work in the
again.
Wales circuit, huh?
There's a photo of this, by the way.
Some things can be done as well. Not anybody can just get
others.
drunk and jump off of things. That man was skilled.
Oh my God.
Oh, he got drunk and tried to jump off something and died. Fucking, this is Bush League, my man. This is Bush. Who you think you are, Sam Patch?
There is actually a photo, because by 1897, photography advanced enough. There is a photo of the last second of this guy's life where he is just head first, 2 inches above the water, about to, go splat. October 24th, 1901, Annie Edison Taylor becomes the first person to ever go over Niagara Falls and live. Following this, 6 additional people would go over Niagara Falls in barrels and other contraptions. These endeavors would claim the lives of 4 people until the Canadian and American governments both agreed to stop allowing this activity in the 1950s. So until 1950,
It took so long.
people were just like, yeah, do whatever you want. Who gives a shit? And then they were like,
It's your life.
this
Live
is
it.
kind of a bad look. So Cascata del Salto is a waterfall that sits just above the town of Magia, Switzerland. Thrill seeker Lasso Shaler set a new world record for the highest ever cliff jump when he successfully leapt from the 192-foot waterfall on August 21st, 2015. And just for comparison, that is the Leaning Tower of Pisa is only 186 feet tall. So pretty big fucking jump. You can watch this on YouTube. September 1st, 2016, a 21-year-old idiot named Shiloh Shaman jumped 173 feet off of Waialua Falls in Kauai, Hawaii, and he was knocked out but lived. You can also watch this on YouTube. October 3rd.
Some things cannot be done as well as other people.
August 3rd, 2020, 19-year-old Jordan Freight jumped 177 feet off of Silver Falls in Oregon. He was knocked out but lived. The fourth and final Jackass movie, Jackass Forever, is scheduled to be released February 4th, 2021.
And I'm going to the theater and I'm wearing my Sam Patch t-shirt.
There is no mistake in Sam Patch except for that one.
There's no mistake in Sam Patch.
Well, hey, here's to Sam Patch.
Here's a hearty fucking Central Pennsylvania gas station curiosity beverage. Cheers to Sam Patch. I wanted to shout out the sources for this. The Buffalo News, Heaven's Ditch, God, Golden Murder at the Erie Canal. Highly recommend that book. Ruth Rosenberg, Nappersteck's writing in the Rochester History Magazine. Sam Patch, The Famous Jumper. This is the definitive book on Sam Patch by Paulie Johnson. A article called It Happened in New Jersey by Fran Capo. The publiceye.blogspot.com, newyorkghosts.com, and Weird New Jersey. All of those extremely worth your time.
What was weird about that?
Dude, I mean...
Weird New Jersey. Also, you can just type in newjersey.com, take it straight there.
Yeah.
NJ.gov. And it takes you to Weird New Jersey.
So, Sam Patch, welcome to the Goods from the Woods Hall of Fame.
Amen, brother. Fucking man. This is the most fascinating story I've ever heard in my life. And
Again,
I'm so upset that this dude has been sent to the back burners of the annals of American history. This man deserves to be front and goddamn center.
Yeah.
This man loved America.
Yeah. And
He jumped off of America and into America.
That's it. That's this is the Sam Patch story. Jumping off of America.
Yeah. There was a lot of articles that came out in like 1929 for the 100th anniversary. You know, we got the 200th coming up. Hopefully he'll get a movie.
He needs a movie.
Hopefully.
So bad.
Yeah.
You know what? Sam Patch didn't hope somebody was going to jump off those things.
No.
At all.
He jumped off those things.
He just did it.
Because some things can be done as well as others.
I mean, I'm just so, like, after all of this, I'm just so fascinated by the mystery of how he got out of that basement. Like, it all starts with a rich man getting the cops to lock him in a basement full of liquor. And it ends with the first step in the journey that goes around the globe and reaches hundreds of years into the future. They lock that dude away to keep him from jumping off of things.
Yep.
And he got out.
He got out and appeared.
And nobody knows how.
Yeah.
But him.
Yeah.
But he got out.
I think someone let him out. It has to be. Someone let him out.
Hey, Rivers.
He was the original Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how he got off that island, man.
Yeah.
Rivers,
That dude kept getting out of that
He
basement.
got the bear to bring him the key.
And he jumped off.
Someone let him out would be the rational conclusion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We're all about irrational entertainment.
It's all about irrational
But this
amusement.
story
here,
is
buddy.
not a rational one.
No.
We know.
No. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for
Rivers, this was awesome.
enjoying.
Thank you for having me on this one,
dude.
buddy.
This was amazing, dude.
So-
that
Hell
research
yeah.
is like, there were so many times where I was like,
Jesus
he's going to die
Christ.
now.
Yeah.
And you're like, nope.
Nope.
So poetic that he went out during Samuel Patch's last jump, and it was supposed to be last because he was going overseas to take them by storm.
Yeah.
And he
So
opened up by
poetic.
talking. He's like, you guys know Napoleon? It's like, wow, he
Fuck
really
Napoleon.
is going all in on this, isn't he?
Fuck
Things were going great for him, weren't they?
Yep. Well,
But
thank
guess what he
y'all.
couldn't do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Ben, please tell people where they can find you and your podcast on the internet.
Well, they can find my podcast, The Road to Now, at road_to_now. on Twitter and Instagram, or you can go to our website, theroadtonow.com. And if you want to find my comedy, sawyercomedy.com.
Hell yeah. And if you're ever in Nashville, check out Perfect Timing, the show that we're about to go do in just a minute here.
The show that starts in 3 hours.
Hell yeah. Rod, please tell people where they can find you online.
Twitter and Instagram at Rod for short. That's ROD, the number 4, SHORT. You can hear me on my podcast, Uncle Rod's Story Corner, and on Rowood Jr.'s podcast, Roy's Job Fair.
Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely check out both of those, actually all 3 of those podcasts. Amazing. Thank you all so much for being here. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rivers Langley. The best way to support this show to head over to patreon.com/thegoodspod. $5 a month gets you access to over 100 hours of bonus content, including, hopefully, right before Christmas. I guess this will probably be up by then. Me and Nick Thomas are going to be talking about, speaking of wrestling, Goldberg's Christmas horror film, Santa's Sleigh. That's available for free on YouTube. So
SLAY?
SLAY. Santa's killing people. It's Bill Goldberg. He's killing folks. It's awesome. It's on YouTube for free. So check that out and join us over on Patreon. And of course, the second best way to support the show is to head to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Show that attitude of gratitude, because if you do not have the attitude of gratitude, Daddy, we're going to throw a bear off of a waterfall. The Goods from the Woods was recorded and edited by me, Rivers Langley. You can find our show on Twitter at The Goods Pod. Our theme song was composed by Jonas, the Space Cowboy.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.